All right, guys, it's Friday. Hope you had a great week. It is October 30th. Finish up the month. I think maybe there's one more trading day, or is Monday the 1st. Anyway, I'm going to hit on a few things in this video. You guys were having some questions about working the size, and I'm going to do some teaching because there was two kind of key things that happened between overnight positioning and then adding to stuff day trade. So I know a lot of you guys are trying to combine. Not only are you trying to trade pairs, so different assets, different asset classes, not necessarily different asset classes against each other, but if we're playing the Russell short and long the Dow or vice versa, just in US equities, that's tricky and then in and of itself. And then you also are going to have sizing questions. But then when you start to throw in different durations or different time frames, if you're trying to trade the Nasdaq on one time frame long, and then you're also trying to go day trade short, there's different ways to organize it. I want to talk about how I blended that in between last night and today. You guys wanted me to do that, so this should be some good teaching. And then I'll get into what I think going at big, global macro into next week, Sunday, and then into the election. So good day. Actually, the market's coming off a little bit more right before I jumped on. So I did 15 grand today. I did another 4,000 or 5,000 this afternoon. It was a really good morning. This was just in S&Ps, and then I was kind of aggressive on the puts with the Nasdaq today. I did another 15 grand there. I've got a core position that's a little bit against me, but definitely pulled some money out on the puts today. And I'll talk about how I'm going home tonight, so you guys kind of see the hedging. But before I do that, don't forget, and I'll make sure I put the links in. If you guys want to join the prop team, I'll hit on the details of that. But it's 25% off through the 3rd on the subscription at Top Step. So that's the group that we're using to clear through and to get you guys funded. So that's these guys over here. They're a Chicago firm. They fund probably that I've seen globally more than anybody. And you guys got to remember too that if you want to go to another prop shop, a lot of times you got to go sit on their desk. A lot of times you got to go take the 53 or 57. All right. They're still going to put you through a combine. You got to go do it yourself. And then a lot of times you have to put up money yourself, 30 grand, 50 grand. If you want to trade 150,000, if you want to have real buying power. So the fact that you can come in here, and the program I've always recommended is you can trade their 15 contract size positions for futures. When 15 contracts is a lot. Like you'll see today on what I did, I think I got up to maybe 5 contracts, 7 contracts at the most on S&Ps. So 15 is a lot. And I can hit on those details. I want to get into the charts, but anyway, guys, take advantage of this discount because like normal 150,000 trading combine, you can see, I mean, you're saving $100 a month, and they said it's a lifetime deal. So you're saving a huge amount. I'm going to come back to this, but you got to realize that $280 to be able to not risk your own capital, trade a wide range of futures products, and get up to 15 contracts is amazing. I mean, and you're paying no commissions through Trade-Evade. No commissions. Just a Bloomberg alone cost you $2,000 when I used to trade on when I was running the rates desk and at different broker dealers on the sell side. So I was paying $10 in ticket charges. Meaning every time I did a trade, I had to pay $10. If I did 100 trades, which happened a lot, that's $1,000 a day, guys. To go in and be able to trade electronically anywhere in the world, no commissions for $280 and you don't have to put up any money to trade. That's amazing. So I know there were some kinks early on. We've worked through that. I've gotten funded. This is what it looks like when you get through. I've done it in as little as 4 or 5 days on some of these combines. There's 2 steps you got to go through, basically paper trading, and then they fund you live. And the process was pretty simple. I mean, it was, I think, under a week getting set up with the broker. There really wasn't a lot of questions asked. You just fill out some traditional paperwork, but it was much smoother process than I'm telling you. If you want to trade for a living, and there's not a lot of places you can do that now with COVID and everything else, this is a great place to do that. So I still think it's a great deal. Some of you should probably have a couple of these accounts. Anyway, let's get into the charts. I can come back to that. So today, the main, well, here's where did I post that? Some of the executions. I was trying to do this in real time, and I even put it out on Twitter today just to get a feel for kind of what we do in the prop room. But we're just sticking to our model and our process. So we're cycle guys, and then we have a directional model where you properly learn how to identify the trend. And then you learn to properly identify the right edges, both from a price perspective, a technical perspective, but then also from a cyclical time perspective. So you've got price, you've got time, you've got technicals, you've got cycles. But time matters more than price. So I'd say that a lot. So today was an interesting, you had a cycle that was up for most of London, and then you had a trend that was up coming in to the US Open, and the market went bid, which we like to go with the power. So I actually bought the Nasdaq over here. Let's not have this chart up. I bought here the Nasdaq, and then it totally reversed, put in a tail. And when we took out this low, I stopped on my Nasdaq long, and I said, you need to stop and or go short. And I was already short S&Ps coming in on a core position. I'm going to show you guys in a second. And then this is me adding to my short. So as the trend was up, I was already short coming in this morning. Between 2 and 3, I was actually short 4 contracts in that Monday night or the Thursday night football game. I sold into a bounce and then put some bids in at the new lows that the market hit in the London and Asia covered, and that put me back short 3. That's what I came in with. Then, so I have a positive position, I have a long position on the Nasdaq. This is the Nasdaq over here in this chart. And I came in long 2 contracts. 3. But then I had puts, protective puts at the 1200 strike. All right, that there's 1200 right here. That was kind of hedging. So this is a longer term position that I was playing. I'll show you in a second on the daily. I put out a piece on that last night. But then that's different day trade. So I came in long 2 or 3, and then when I had that, we had this near term move up to start the morning, I went long. And the reason being is that this was going to continue this morning higher. I was going to stay on the long side of my Nasdaq, and I was going to add to my Nasdaq on the way up. And I might have, and then because I was already short the core side in S&Ps, I would have just left that. Maybe I would have sold it higher, another core piece. But that's not what happened, right? So this uptrend failed, and you just got to go with it. So if I went from long 3 to long 5 with 2 day trade longs, two day trade long contracts, take that off. Now I just going back to my core size that I have puts on. I actually had 5 puts coming in this morning. And when this started to break, because I didn't want to get rid of my long position by selling that out and then going day trade short to create a short position, I bought more puts. I took this to 7 contracts. And that was a way of me kind of playing this near-term downtrend. So that's what I did on the Nasdaq. But then over here, this is where I was busy on my day trade stuff because I was already short. So it's easier for me to organize my play and be still short. Just want to make sure my screen share is good. It's just easier. Because some of you're trying to trade 2 different time frames. You're longer term, you want to have some positions on, but then you're trying to day trade. And if you're trying to be long futures and then the trend is down for the day, what are you going to do? Do you get out of your long and then you go short? That's, to me, has always been too much in and out. I'd rather keep things simple and more compartmentalized, where I know, okay, maybe I like the Nasdaq longer term for obvious reasons. But S&Ps has a high correlation, obviously, to that. And I'm going to trade that on the short side. So you have to think about what makes sense too. Sometimes it's maybe trading the E-mini micros. And then when you day trade, you trade the full contract. I talk more about that in the team. That's what you get with the coaching. That's the stuff we go through. But organization is a big part of trading. I think a lot of people forget about that. I mean, we're so focused on getting the market right and technicals, and now you want to throw in cycles, which most people don't do. And then you got to talk about the risk management. It's one thing to get the chart right, the timing right, and then how do you work your size? That's even more of an important issue. How do I work my size? And then things like organization, or there's other risk management stuff like, what's your routine like? Do you cancel orders before you get up and walk away from your desk? All that stuff that you do as a professional, and which I had to do training guys on the desk, how I was trained. It's very important. It's critical. Those are habits you need to have. And maybe we don't talk about that enough. So essentially that was the direction of what I did. And then this is me adding and reducing. So I'll walk through this on an easier chart. This is covering, reshorting. This was a nice wall concept. This was the initial move down. I said, as you come back in on this bounce, you'll want to fade it, want to add to it. That's where I was buying my puts on that bounce too. And then you got the follow through. This is classic cover, 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 new lows. We always take on new lows, and then I'm reshorting on the next 5-minute cycle. And then I covered the lows here with the cycle, in the 1-minute cycle. And then this was a 15-minute cycle bounce back, and actually pretty decent 30-minute cycle also. And so this was a time to be a little bit more patient. And while I was down here, the market was down here, I was booking my gains on my puts, and I went to just long one contract. So I have one put contract out, took all the profit on, like I showed you earlier, 10 to 15 grand in profits on puts. And now I'm still long 3 Nasdaq. So as the market bounces back, that's moving in my favor, especially that I got rid of my puts. I put a few puts back out to hedge my long. And then at the same time, I'm starting to fade the S&P again over here. And then I got another nice afternoon trade. Slowly fade it with the cycle. You could have drilled it here if you wanted. That's when I bought my Nasdaq puts back. And then money, 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 money. All right, I'll highlight some more of that now on this side. So, wow, the market caught a bid way up to 75. Nice. I covered 30s. What time is it? I ramped it right into the close. We used to call him jam him into the close guy. All right, so making sure I get the 2 screens. Like the cycles. All right, so on the higher time frames, this is how we're playing the 2 different perspectives. I put the daily chart in the long-term bucket. You can also swing trade around it. But for me, a daily chart, really, I'm looking at the long-term. All right. The direction of the 8 is going to give you the more active sequences and the more what I call the immediate trend. Okay. And a lot of machines, if 80% of the market is probably machine-based, right, these days, this trend is very, all the fast money, everything is around this 8-day. So when you break it, it matters, but just the simple way to look at the underlying trend, the underlying time frames, is to look at the direction of the 8. So this is showing you the intermediate term downtrend. But can you be long here, looking for a higher low? Like we bought Amazon really well here. Looking for a higher low, and you still have a chance to get a higher low here. So this is part of why I am working that position for longer term on the Nasdaq, because I don't have any Amazon. I sold all that. I don't have a lot of Apple. I don't have a lot of core long. So that is kind of a longer term play I'm doing, and I know I'm showing S&P chart. So Nasdaq looks different. So I'm working the bands here, a longer term core position. And if we start to rally out of here, I'm going to hold that for a longer term cycle, a weekly cycle. A multi-week move, probably after election if we're going to hold. But because you're at a kind of a pivotal point, where I call it a crossroads, you have the intermediate term downtrend running into the long-term uptrend. You don't know which way it's going to go. So how you work your position matters. And so I like to, if I'm long, buy some puts, 11,200 puts. I bought those yesterday or the day before. And then I'll trade those around. But this is a pretty tight, if you're long a few contracts and you have a few puts, there's not a lot of risk and I still have all the upside. But the real money is going to become when this turns a corner and then I'm day trade long in addition to my swing long. So that's what's going on with the Nasdaq. And I'm not going to be adding and adding and adding and adding. If I'm long 2 or 3, that's it. The only way I want to add is this way, my position. And then on the downside, I've been playing short S&Ps on the intermediate term, and that's why I came in today, and then been more aggressive with the day trade trend. And I'll continue to be more aggressive on the short side as we break. And I have been saying to stay net short all of this week and last week. Doesn't mean you don't have any longs, but net short, books net short. So coming into today, this was an opportunity you could have sold yesterday, which I did, and then you could have covered. And then you go home short. Like I said, I sold a little bit last night, and then I put bids in below the market, got hit on those, and then you wake up this morning and we were up here. So because I booked gains there, then it's an easy reshort in the morning. I add to my core short, my swing short. And this is when I was saying that we had a 30-minute cycle. Let me do S&Ps. The same thing. So 30-minute did a really good job. And I tweeted that out today. I said, look, you coming in off a 30-minute cycle from London, coming right into the bands. This is a location where you're going to have a good, nice day trade short, good several hours cycle down. And that's exactly what played out. This 30-minute. So if you guys remember, this is the Nasdaq. I was long, core long. So this morning right here is that tail. So initially it looks like this. That's power. That's bullish. And you get that type of candle right off the bat in the morning, you want to go with it. But it didn't close there. It faded. And you just have to go with what it is. You don't just keep fighting it. It's just because the first position you took didn't turn it around and went the other way. But I didn't want it to break that low right there. That was the risk. And that was the right call. And then so then what do you have the other way? Now you have this big fat real money candle. That was the power the other way. And then look what that produced. So do you want to be wrong? Can you be wrong on just this and then right on all this? That's what you want. Plus if I'm only long 2 contracts here, you guys saw all the executions. It's 1, 2, it's reshort 2, it's cover, reshort 2. I was short 5 again here. It was probably 10 to 12 contracts that I was short versus the 2 that I was wrong on this morning alongside. That's how you risk a little bit. That's the real risk reward plays. It's not, oh, I'm wrong, short, set 2 targets and hope I get filled for the day. That's not professional trading. It's adding and reducing, but it's taking this out of the market in addition to compounding by adding to it, adding. Any big trader is an adder. It's not stab in on one lot, set a target. That's how amateurs trade. So that was the turn. And if you could see on the 5 minute, I mean, just keep it simple. We want to trade with the trend. So there's times to go contrarian, but I think you guys lose sight of that sometimes. Just stay with the trend. And this was the trend for the morning. That changed. It started to change here on the 1 minute. It changed there for sure. This is a real money candle. Go with it. And then look, this is a picture of a downtrend. The bands are all negative. You're in the southern hemisphere. It's simple. It's not always easy, but it's simple. You got to keep it simple. So that was the trend. I talked about the cycle sets you up for the turn. 15-minute, 30-minute was good. And then you just have these nice 5-minute cycles in here, and then you can get in on the 1 minute cycle. I mean, this was the Nasdaq. I didn't play the Nasdaq short, but it was the same. The same thing on S&P. I did play the puts short. I wanted to walk through that. So you get a nice rally back to the bands on the 5 minute, boom, down. You can see the TMS started to break in here around 32.70. And then there's a lot to do on these 1 minute moves too. So you can get busy in here on the 1 minute when you're having a good day. Short, covers, nice cycles here. Look, nice thing when the volatility is this high, you have, look at these 1 minute moves. I mean, you're going from 35 to 60 to 50. There's 20 points in there. So some days a year ago in the summer, you were only moving 20 points all day, if lucky. Now you're doing a 20-point swing on one 1 minute cycle. Each one of these cycle up, down, up, down, up, down. So I sold this a few times, covered, I resold, I covered, I resold. This was a nice place to resell, right back to pi. So you cycle away from pi, you cycle back to pi. That's what I call a pi cycle. All right, failed at pi again on the 1 minute. Sold into that. We were I covered this 32.35 area 3 times. Covered new lows down here at 30. And futures aren't. It's something trading actually. But I'm trying to teach. Anyway, you don't have to take a huge amount of risk on the way, into the weekends. What else? So let me just go over the size one more time on the difference between different durations. Wow, it's 72. Let's see, guys. So along the lines of the organization of how you want to organize your trades, you got to think about what type of trader you are. Some of you have busy jobs, so you're mostly swing trading and corp trading, or you're trading options. But the way I do it is I think about like, okay, what is the strongest part of the market? Well, it's been the Nasdaq. And now we're in a risk off move. So Nasdaq was actually leading, it was the weakest this morning. But when I look at the big picture, like the Dow is breaking to new lows below the September low. It looks the weakest. You're holding the 200, but it's below. It's actually weaker than freaking Russell. So do I want to be long it? I still would rather take a core position on the Nasdaq from a longer term perspective right here. And be long tech. That's the strongest part of the economy. And then so on the other side of that, I just think about, okay, well, what's the weakest? It's what we were short a lot of Russell for most of first quarter, for most of these down bear cycles we have. We were short the Russell a lot. I switched to S&P this month just because last month it wasn't working as well, and I was annoyed with it. So why not trade S&P? It has a lot of energy, which is one of the weakest parts of the market in it. I don't like the financials. It has financials in it. So anyway, so that's what I decided to do. So you can think about it like that. So, okay, so when I'm swing trading or on the short side, I'll trade S&P. When I'm on the long side, I'll trade the Nasdaq. And then day trade, it's if you're going to take a core position, then you start trading more Nasdaq long day trade. If it starts to break down to a downtrend, you don't keep that on. You got to cut it just like it was a day trade. And then think about the other side and feeding the S&P. I think it's today. But then I'm protecting this with these puts, so I'm not afraid to go in and buy puts. I did that a few times. I added at one point. I was told you I was long just one put against my core long, and then I bumped it up to 7 this morning, and then I was at 3 for a while, and then I was back to 2, and then today into the weekend I'm just going to cover. I'm only long 2 Nasdaq, so I only have 2 puts, and then I covered my S&Ps, and you know what? I covered most of my futures except for one contract on this low, and then I bought a put, just a downside put that was cheaper for more of that short exposure. But now that they rallied them back up, I'll probably sell futures for that, or I'll just be busier on Sunday. So I think that's kind of covered what I wanted to cover. You can organize it between time frames like that. Oh, some of you are trading the minis around too. So you could do the same thing with the minis and day trade it like that. You could overlap the core trading. If you just want to trade the minis on the higher time frames because you're going to get more movement, you can hold those positions longer that way. And then when you're watching it in the screens, you want to day trade and you can take 10 points risk, you can do a full contract and day trade the full contract. That's how I would think about that. You could also, have your core positions and then you use the day trade account like Top Step. And that's kind of what we do. And then we're incorporating, they have a swing program, guys, also. So we have got guys that are having a lot of success with that because you can take the positions overnight. So it's a little bit more flexible. But I would just recommend, I like to see you guys get to the point where you're doing both. It's not that much money when you think of it as a business instead of thinking like a consumer, thinking like job mentality. Treat it like a business if you want it to pay you like a business. If you want to treat it like a hobby, I'm going to pay you like a hobby. But I'd like to see you guys core trading and day trading and learning to blend the two. And that's how you can have some of these big days. All right, so go to jenkinscmguys.com. The Top Step program is one thing, but if you want to trade with me and my team, if you want my entire institutional model I built or directional model, jenkinscm.com, come here to memberships. The prop program is what I'm talking about today. So I paid 12 grand to learn to trade Forex after I was already a licensed broker at Schwab, after I already learned the bond business when I was running a rates desk. I wanted to learn Forex. And I learned from a guy who was virtual out of Miami, 12 grand. I think I had access to him for like a weekend. And that was it. You guys can trade with me every single day. You get the full course, all my courses, including the options right now. Options program is $3 grand itself. But think about the time. We used to do coaching 8 sessions twice a week for 4 weeks. And those are a couple hours long. And that's when we get into, like I'm talking about, this organization, the habits of like even how you sit down at your computer, how you put in orders, how you think about canceling orders, how you think about overnight positions, all the right habits you got to make, guys. You don't get to determine your future. You determine your habits determine your future. Same in trading. Your trading habits will determine your success. Your trading habits will lead you to the consistency. If you're consistently doing the wrong actions, you will not get consistent. It's not until you get rid of all the bad habits get the right good habits, then you get consistent. Then you become a winning trader. Then you become a successful trader. Just like 95% of people have shit habits in general in their life. No different in trading, but you got to know the technical stuff, the know-how. You can get all those skills in this course, but then you're going to have the time to work with me to help you work through the prop program, to help you get a funded account, to help you make money, to help you avoid some of the mistakes. It's all, you're going to learn stuff along the way, but then we're there to trade together, get edges together, more information together. This is how you should trade. You get funded, you get a coach, you get a mentor, you get somebody that can help you, keep you accountable. You work together, good edges, a model, analysis, process, boom. Not on stock twits all day, shooting off every different direction by yourself. No, that's not how you do it. All right, guys, that's the way to do it. That's where to get signed up here. Yep, I'll put those links in for the top stuff. If you have any questions, you can always come to, the easiest way to get in touch with me is come to the home page and then go to the content section. That's where I've been putting all the videos and stuff that we do, like this one. And the new this chat room is free on Telegram. Easiest way to reach out to me. We've got our crypto edge room starting up over there. Here's the socials, the email, join the email list, keep you up to date. This will take you to the prop program also. All right, guys, hope that helps. Have a great weekend. Hopefully stuff doesn't get too crazy and stressed out in front of the election. But I think Sunday night's going to be an important one. So pay attention. I'll be on. Hopefully see some of you guys on the prop team next week.